What's up, guys? This is your host, Danny Baylor, Danny Cakes, and you are listening to the Immeasurably More podcast. Okay, guys, what's up and welcome back. Thank you for joining us again. So if you guys missed our last episode, I talked a little bit about my background and my faith and how I've developed as a believer over the years in my lifetime, different seasons of my life and my faith walk. And I also went over some very commonly asked questions in regards to jumping back into your faith with the Lord, some practical steps to dive in to the Bible, some different prayer strategies. So if for some reason you guys missed that episode, I highly recommend that you check it out. I've gotten so many continuous questions regarding that episode, and I know it will just fill you up and give you so much direction and hopefully some practical ways to lean into your faith and to the Lord and what He has for you. So I'm super excited for you guys to revisit that. Hope it serves you well and answers some question for you. So like I said, if you missed that episode, go ahead and check it out. It is Foundation to Faith. So you guys know that I recently moved to Newport Beach, and one of those main reasons was because of Chalk Performance Training, which is my gym. I have been doing this program online for probably about a year and a half before I started living in Newport and doing in person. I love this program. I feel like it was so fitting to my schedule and just really knowing that I had an effective workout and being able to do it online and feeling like I was part of a community. And I love so many things that Chalk represents, and Ryan Fisher is seriously the GOAT of fitness programming. So he has this online program. Like I said, our gym is here in Newport Beach, but I was able to access those workouts online. And so I get so many questions all the time about what's a great training program. And you guys, hands down, this is the best. So like I said, these are super efficient workouts. I know this is the strongest I've ever been as an athlete while still loving the way that I look as a result of it. So this program offers actually 5 different types of training styles. So no matter what your skill level, no matter how much equipment you have, anywhere from, just body work, which is just like body weight, no equipment, up to strength and conditioning, which is very similar to the CrossFit style classes that I do in the gym. He has a program called Daily D, which is basically only just requires a dumbbell, a pull-up bar, and a jump rope, which I know he originally created for traveling. So he literally knocks off every single different kind of training program for every walk of life and every person, no matter, like I said, your skill level. So I love this program. I love how efficient it is. They're super, super fun. I love CrossFit, but I feel like these are so efficient and I seriously look forward to all of them. It's so fun to do with somebody online, no matter where you're living, right? And it has such a cool community as well. So like I said, I look up to Ryan so much. I respect his hustle and his heart because you guys, he's so people-minded. And when you're a part of Chalk community, you are truly part of a family and you feel like you're not alone in your workout. I think that's something that we really need nowadays, right? Is to feel like we're a part of something. So you guys can actually get this program for just $15 a month with my code DannyCakes. It's regular $19. Which I think is insane. This guy has so much heart and so much knowledge. I believe he's been doing fitness for over 15 years. And like I said, he has truly people at heart and mind when he creates his program. So can't get any better than this. Check out Chalk Performance Training. I'm going to put that link into the description and you guys will get the best of the best workouts literally from your cell phone and the internet. So go ahead and check that out. And then for sure, tag me if you do any of these workouts. I'd love to see that you guys are doing this with me. So today is something I want to talk about for a while now, and I like to refer to it as catching your thoughts. It's so important to me mainly because I know this was such a weakness of mine for so many years. And if there's anything I've learned over these last few years is being aware of how I think. You guys, how we talk to ourselves, how I process my emotions as I react to something. So this is so important to me because I just know, like I said, this is such an area of weakness for me. I didn't talk kindly to myself. I didn't speak truth over myself. I really just leaned into the lies, right, that the enemy spoke to me and less about the truth. And it makes me honestly so sad because I look back and I'm just disappointed on that version of me, even though I know it's how it's made me today, right? And to be able to recognize this and the value of it. And so that I can sit here and share it with you guys. And so I want to do my best to teach you how to recognize these thoughts too. And you guys, and honestly, how common we do think this way, right? So this could seriously go in so many different directions, our relationships, fitness, business, self-love. We have to get control of our thoughts and how we think. This is seriously so life-changing, you guys. Proverbs 18:21 says, the tongue has the power of life and death. So what we say, what we think, what we speak out loud, you guys, it matters. Everything matters. And I want to focus especially on what it is that we say to ourselves. So one of my go-to phrases I always talk about, right, is talking yourself into it. We either talk ourselves out of something or we talk ourselves into it. We speak life or death, right? What are you speaking over yourself, your situation, the way that you love yourself? So there's also this quote, it's like, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right? So our mind, our thoughts have so much power, you guys, and we have control of that. No, you have control of the way that you think, and it's a matter of just recognizing it. So you can talk yourself into truth or success, or you can talk yourself out of it, meaning you set the tone, your voice, your attitude. Obviously, I have a strong attitude now, because when you guys hear that conviction in my voice, like I said, it's because there was a season in my life where I was so weak in this area. And it just, honestly, I have to kind of catch myself, because when I see someone or I'm among someone who maybe is weaker in their mindset and not aware of catching their thoughts and being in control of the way they think and leaning into those lies, it honestly kind of makes me pissed off. I'm why don't they just think this way? But I'm okay, Danielle, you were not that way one time. And so give this person grace and find a way to teach them how to overcome this. So when I'm saying we have to set the tone for ourselves, we have to lean into our identity. Who is our identity? God, right? You guys, the Bible says we're made in his image, and we have to remember that we draw strength and wisdom from him. We don't think twice about making time in our day to exercise our body, but so often we do not exercise our mind. We don't exercise our thoughts, and instead we starve them, right? And I really, really think, you guys, and like I said, all areas, when we maintain control of our thoughts and the way that we think, everything changes. Everything changes, you guys. What are we doing to strengthen our thinking? I remember when I first started my business and I was like, okay, God, what's the best leadership book that I can read to be a good leader for my team? And I really felt like God was like, duh, the Bible. Who can teach you to be a better leader than I can, Not that there aren't great books, I am reading other books, but I know when it comes to my identity and God's truth and promises, I'm going to find that in the Bible, because that's what God says about me. That is the most powerful tool I can use, is right, our weapon, the word of God. And so sometimes that means being in the word and reading, and sometimes it means just being still. Sometimes when I feel like I'm burnt out, or I don't know what to read, or I'm exhausted, or whatever it looks like, I feel like God just calls me to be still. And maybe he doesn't need to say something right away, but just gives us a moment to kind of be willing to let God move in us, right? And give us a little bit of peace, because we got to give ourselves some grace, right? So being still, being in the word, letting God speak to you. And you guys, this doesn't mean it happens overnight. Results take time. It takes discipline. It takes consistency to change the way that we think. This is a new thing for us, and we have to give ourselves grace that this is a process. So we have to be intentional about the way we think and recognizing our thoughts. Everything that we do comes from the way that we think. Romans 12:2 says, do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. You guys, when we are leaning into the Lord and what God says about us, we're starting to transform our thinking, transform your mind, renew your mind, transform what you think. And then when I'm saying this, because I don't know if I talk about this later, but I talk about how God's ways and his thoughts are higher than our ways. Yes, I believe that's my closing verse, but I'll go into that later. But you guys, as believers and as Christ followers, when we're leaning into God and our identity in God, what God says about us, that's not of the world. So don't conform to the world. Don't conform to the patterns of what the world says, who you are and what it looks like, but transform yourself by renewing your mind and renewing the truth that God says about you and his power at work within you. And so it's so crazy, because even as writing these talking points, I kind of find it amusing because I'm thinking, you guys, like, I want this podcast to be so powerful. I know the value of it. And to the point, I hate that it like stresses me out, but I love you guys so much. I want to be that voice for you the way that I needed somebody in my life during hard times and a transitional time of renewing my mind, right? But I'm just like, dude, God, like, why is this hard? I'm stressing out over here. And I have to change my thought process to, I can manage this. God chose me to do this. I'm here and I'm able, and his power is at work within me. And as long as I'm obedient, he won't fail me. So I can't get surprised when things get stressful or they get hard when I'm walking in God's will for me, right? We have to remember that we can't be caught by surprise when we are doing what's righteous. So you guys, what a relief, right? It's not even ours to carry, that God is working with us and he goes before us. So I want to explain to you how to take action. So we have these thoughts, we're recognizing our thoughts. So what do we do with them? So if I have a negative thought about something or myself, I catch that thought, right? I recognize that thought crossed my mind. That's what I mean by catching a thought, meaning I recognize the lie I just told myself. And like I said, you guys, this has taken time for me to recognize. I think especially as we lean into God, we discern his voice over the enemies, right? So I know when a lie happens or crosses my mind, I'm like, whoa, that's not of God. That's not of this Danny. That's not speaking life over me. It's speaking death. So as a reaction, when I have that negative thought, I flip it, right? So I actually say it out loud. Power of the tongue, remember? So for example, I use this super often in the gym, especially, like I said, you guys, just CrossFit in the gym, that kind of pain, that mentality is so relatable in so many areas of my life. So for example, if I'm failing a lift or a movement, when I say a lift, I'm referring to like a barbell lift, or I'm trying to hit a new PR in the gym and I know that ish is heavy, right? Instead of telling myself, okay, you're not going to hit it this time, it's way too heavy. Like, what do you think can do? Good luck. Instead, I tell myself it's lightweight. And I actually say it out loud as I approach it. I think that people might think I'm kind of silly, but I'm like, hey, this is my head. This is my workout. This is my PR. And so this is what I have to do. I realize I do this and I'm actually tricking my brain to do more, right? Telling myself this is lightweight. And when I refer to lightweight, I'm meaning a weight that I know I can hit for multiple reps. It's fairly easy to me. It's something I know I can maintain, like a strong endurance with this weight that I'm carrying. Like I can handle it. So even if it's hard and it's scary and it's intimidating and we question how we're going to handle it, remind yourself God is allowing you to go deeper with him in that moment, to face something you may not have faced before so that you can trust how he shows up, and this builds your faith. So telling yourself, right, it's lightweight. If we talk ourselves into struggles, that we transform our thinking into them thinking, this is lightweight, it's something we know we absolutely can manage. Because this is the thing. You get to choose how you face your situation. We cannot help what happens to us all the time, but we get to choose our reactions, right? How are we approaching the bar? How are we approaching our situations? How do we face adversity when our situation doesn't look good? When it feels impossible, when we feel burnt out, and you're just like, dude, God, like again, are you sure I can handle this? You guys, self-pity is a dark pit, I'll say. And I'm familiar with this, so that's why I feel led to speak on it. I'm still working on this. I question, why God? Why me? Are you sure about this? He is sure. He is with you. He is guiding you. He goes before you, like I always say, and he knows exactly what's going on. It's not a surprise to him. I've talked about this a little bit before, but you guys, self-doubt is probably the number one battle we have to face when it comes to catching our thoughts. So this relates to our worth in relationships, right? Approaching that pain cave we like to talk about, in fitness, in our businesses and our jobs, our leadership abilities, what's a possibility for us in that business, self-love, where is my identity and where does my worth reside? You guys, the enemy wants nothing more than for you to feel unequipped. So again, don't act like self-doubt is a surprise. When you feel like you're over your head, like you're a total fool, that every time you look in the mirror and you're like, yeah, right, nice try. You're not good enough for him. You're too weak. You might as well give up now. No one will trust you as a leader or take you seriously. Who do you think you are? Plot twist, flipping the script, remember? We're flipping those negative thoughts into the complete opposite, into truths. I know exactly whose I am, Real quick, I want to be very careful about affirmations, you guys, because I don't like to refer to them as a power within myself that I speak life over, but God's power and his word that already resides in me and comes from the Holy Spirit that is speaking truth within you. I, zero credit, right? Glory to God, because my affirmations come from him and what he says about me, you guys. His truth says about us. So talk about taking the power back. And these aren't truths that we have to just speak in front of the mirror every single morning, right? But we take these promises through us throughout our day. When we recenter ourselves with Christ and what he says about us, there is nothing that can shake you. We stand firm in our identity. So why do we battle this so much? Self-talk, the constant battle of our thoughts. Because you are a threat, you guys. If you feel empowered and limitless through the one avenue God intended for you to flourish in, what is more intimidating than the one trying to break you? The devil will literally work overtime to separate you from your breakthroughs. So again, don't be surprised. In fact, take pride. Take pride that you are a threat to the enemy, that there is impact to be made, and he will do anything, use anyone to hurt you or undermine the power that is within you. He's going to do anything he can to make you think that God is not good, that God doesn't think of you, God's power isn't within you. And so again, this takes practice, right? To recognize these thoughts. It's not going to happen overnight. But we have to start somewhere. I'm forever changing the way that I think. I'm forever growing, and I'm still learning to catch my thoughts. So don't even let those words come out of your mouth, right? Those negative thoughts. And if you do, which I do often, I just did it a little bit ago, you have to catch it. You have to flip it. Instead of saying, this is hard, say, I'm able, I can do this. God's called me to this, right? Speaking truth, speak the opposite. Retrain your mind, renew your thinking, transform your mind. And if you do it often enough, you will start to believe these truths. When I started my business and would face trials, I'd ask myself, what would so-and-so do in this situation? Like somebody I look up to, somebody that I wanted to be, somebody wiser than me. What would they do? Maybe when you face a challenge this week, you can ask yourself, well, how would Danny talk to herself through this? Like if I was Danny, what would I do? What would the Immeasurably More version of me say to this, right? And so when I'm referring to Immeasurably More, you guys, I'm saying what God can do through us more than we can in our own human flesh, right? So we are limited to our own abilities, but immeasurably more, meaning God is able to do so much more than we ever could have imagined. He does so much more through speaking through us, working through us. And it's so cool, you guys. There's so many times when I'm so excited to give God the glory and the things that I do and the things that I say, because I'm like, dude, that wasn't me. I was just telling somebody earlier after my Bible study this morning, I don't get the credit. Like God speaks through me. I don't even know who shows up because that's not me. I'm just here. I'm just a vessel, But it's so exciting to give God the opportunity. So there are situations that seem so impossible, but it's an opportunity, right? Where we're forced to throw our hands up and say, okay, God, step in and do what only you can do. These may seem like simple thoughts, you guys, but I promise that these will compound over time, right? You're going to start to believe it. You'll slowly build your trust. Allow God to do work in and through you so that when you face greater occurrences, your natural instinct is to trust and believe and start speaking those truths, recognizing those thoughts. This is so powerful, you guys, to say I am able. God has chosen me. His power is at work within me. He's not surprised and he's got this. I can handle this. It's lightweight. There might be a giant standing before me, but God has equipped me specifically for such a time as this with my stone to bring a victory over my situation. Because ultimately, you guys, what this breaks down to is, I could never talk about this. I might as well just do a whole podcast about this. If you've ever heard of spiritual warfare, you guys, the things that we face is the Ephesians 6 says it's in the spiritual realms, right? What you're battling isn't a person, isn't a situation. It is truly the enemy. And God has already forgiven us. He's already saved us. And so the enemy is going to do whatever he can to steal our joy, to steal our confidence in our calling. And so when you feel like you're facing these thoughts, we have to maintain control of the way that we think because we don't let him win, right? And no matter what, no matter what the enemy even intends for evil, God always uses for good. But I want us to learn that as we're diving deeper in our faith and we're leaning into God. And I've personally been doing this these last few weeks. I feel like God's drawing me near. I feel like I've come so far in these last few years, stepping into my identity, who I am, what God's called me to. And I feel like there's something so much more And I started reading these couple of books, and the beginning of the books, both of them, they're totally separate, non-related books, but both related to prayer. They both pretty much said in the intro, hey, this is going to be like a really intense prayer season of your life. And to the point where I was like, do I want to do this? Are you sure about this? And on one of the books, it said, okay, devil, like bring it. This means war. And I'm willing to do this because God's on my side. And so as I've been leaning into that and I took the leap and started reading this book for the last 2 weeks, you guys, I have encountered some very trying times where I feel like I've been really broken down. And I want you to know, like I said, the self-doubt and the stress and the fear and the intimidation and the anxiety, all the things that cripple us, you guys, the enemy is so intimidated what you are going to be doing that he's trying to make you back out of it. He's trying to make you back out of your business, make you back out of your marriage, all the things that God is calling you to endure. And he's going to equip you to endure, because I don't know why we think when we become Christians, like I said, we think that there's just this easy road. To me, I don't even know how to live a life not knowing God. I don't know how to do things on my own. And so I would rather know that I have God to turn to in my trials to do work within me. But knowing, you guys, that there is a breakthrough that is coming, whatever season of your life, and your life is full of different seasons, full of different breakthroughs, because I look back literally a year ago and I'm like, dude, I was in a totally different breakdown of a season before the breakthrough, and that was gnarly, and so is this. And I'm like, dude, God, are you sure? But when I look back at that, it was the biggest breakthrough of my life, you guys, and it had a huge effect on the rest of my year. And I know when I'm being obedient and I'm leaning into the Lord and what he has for me, yeah, we're going to face some trials. We're going to face some negative thoughts, but we have to learn to get control of that. And like I said, the more that we do it, the more familiar it becomes to us. And, it might take me a few seconds to think about it, but then I also have moments when I hear God so much clearer. And so just know, like, if you're struggling, you're doing something right. If it's hard, you're doing something right. Because if you weren't in intimidation, the enemy would have no reason to attack you. He would have no reason to try to steal your confidence, right? And make you feel like you're not able. So trust that you're doing something right. Keep leaning into the Lord. Keep catching your thoughts. Train yourself to renew your mind and transform your thinking. And you guys, that means being in the Word. That means being in fellowship. Don't do this on your own. Surround yourself with other people who have strong mindsets, right? Who exercise their minds as well as their bodies. But like I said, I just had this on my heart for so long. And it really is, we totally underestimate the power of the way that we think. And I know that it's taking me time and it's taking me effort and discipline to lean on God. And sometimes, I don't always want to do it. But when I do, when I feel like I'm in a season, especially my business, you guys, when I feel like I'm not on top of my game, or I'm not feeling confident, or I don't know what, I'm like, oh my gosh, who do you think you are? When that thought crosses my mind, I'm like, okay, I need to dive back into some personal development, you guys. What better personal development than having a relationship with the God who created you, who knows all the hairs on your head, who knows every thought, who knit you in your mother's womb. Like, he knows all the things about you, and like, he can reveal the most of your truths and your promises to you. And so he's a person, right? It's a relationship. It takes time to be able to know him and learn him and hear his voice and recognize his voice. But when you press through that, and I'm saying it's not going to be easy, like, I'm telling you guys, I feel such a calling. I feel like I would fail my life and my purpose if I don't do more, if I don't show up more, if I'm not being my very best, if I'm not living up to my fullest potential, if I'm not doing what God's calling me to do. And so I'm willing to suffer, and even if that means I'm doing it by myself. But like I said, I tell myself, God, you chose me. You know that I can handle this. You guys, God placed you exactly in your season, not by accident, on purpose, with the people that you're surrounded with, your situation, your struggles, your insecurities, all of those things play a part, and it matters. And just know that he's going to equip you. He's going to work with you. He's going to reveal things to you. It takes some effort on our end to recognize that and to put in the time, put in the discipline, put in the intention to build a relationship with him, to know his voice. And so I hope that's helpful to you guys. I hope that you start to catch your thoughts. And maybe if you do and you have a story or something, I would love for you to DM me and share with me a little bit about it. because I know you guys, this is probably one of the most valuable things I've gained or been taught myself by the Lord. But I know that this will totally transform every single aspect of your life, your self-love, your worth and your relationships, what you feel like you're physically capable of. You guys, I love talking about fitness and that area of my life because it is so mental. And I talked about that in my last podcast about the power of your pain. But seriously, if you want to challenge yourself, do some fitness. But it's so relatable to every area of your life. And it does, because when you accomplish those certain things, when you accomplish, you guys, those mental breakdowns in your spiritual warfare, when you feel like you've conquered that and you've allowed God to step in, or you've talked yourself into it, you talked yourself through it, you're like, dang, just like I said a year ago, I'm like, that sucked. And that was a rough battle, but like I did it. And there was something so much bigger on the other side, immeasurably more than I ever could have imagined, because I stuck with it. I kept leaning into God. And I trusted that this was his way for me. And literally, you guys, I hope that you think that living a life as a Christian and following the Lord seriously is exciting. And if for some reason you're telling yourself it's not, catch your thought and tell yourself that my God is so good. He has a life full of purpose and fulfillment. And I'm eager, I'm expectant, right? Speak those truths over yourself and you will never be disappointed. You will never feel like you are living a life without purpose. Dude, I could go on and on, you guys, but I love that this topic goes like on my heart today. And I'm so excited to see what God does through you, and just lean into it. Pray about it, you guys. People ask all the time certain questions about just how to pray. Just be like, hey, God, renew my mind. Like ask him to reveal himself to you. Ask him to show you something in the Bible, to open your eyes to something, to show you something new. That is such a huge prayer in my heart. I cannot wait to like look back on this podcast a couple of months from now and think of this, but I know like God's doing something new. And maybe that's renewing our minds, right? Like Romans 12, renewing the way that we think. It's so powerful. You guys, don't underestimate your mind. Guard your hearts and just know that God is with you, and he has so many promises and truths and worth, and your identity lies in him. And you seriously cannot fail if you are walking with him and walking in his will. And like I said, it'll be so exciting for you. So I hope this has given you guys a little bit more direction and some insight on the way that I think and how I tackle literally daily battles. But give yourself grace in the meantime, always. And seriously, you guys, like I said, share with me your experiences. If you guys have any suggestions or questions about previous podcasts or future podcasts, I would love to hear your feedback. That fuels me so much, you guys. I love hearing from you, and I love knowing what you're taking away from these podcasts. So yeah, let's talk about spiritual warfare this next episode. I'm going to prepare for some spiritual warfare because I'm going to equip you guys with all the tools, and I know that is going to be a total threat. So stay tuned. I'm sure I'll have lots of stories for you. But I'm so excited about this. This is probably like second to catching our thoughts, right? Is how to really take action, what God's intention was for us. And you guys, it'll just change your spiritual walk by understanding spiritual warfare. It's such a huge part of my life, and I guess I never understood it until now. So I'm so excited to share more about that with you. So as always, you guys, rate, review, subscribe, and please share this with somebody that you know will find value in it. You guys can reach me on Instagram. I definitely check my DMs daily, either on immeasurably.more.podcast or my personal Instagram, which is Danny Cakes, DANNNI Cakes. And I would love to respond to you through there. So I will leave you guys with this. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. Isaiah 55:9.